Want to take you through a little sneak peek of what I'm building inside of Focus HQ. And specifically, I want to show you the project section because I think it's a little bit interesting and it catches some stuff that normally slips through the cracks when you're actually planning or executing on projects. So, as I scroll down, we have a bunch of project tasks, and we can look at tasks in different ways. We can look at them just in that kind of linear order of what are we doing later and what is now and next. That's really important, is not to just plan a big long list of tasks. We want to get rid of the tasks. We want to complete tasks. So now and next is the primary focus. And what I'm going to show you is one really simple way to help you when you're doing a project is what I call clearing the decks. So I've moved this task into now and next because this is the next task I want to do, which is to plan the next month of content in advance of me starting to build the Focus HQ system. I can't expect to add a new big project onto my plate and continue on as normal. There's going to be somewhere that I have to give up some mental bandwidth. Something will suffer otherwise. So by planning the next month of content, I give myself a little bit of break on that content. It still gets done. I still show up, but I give myself more mental bandwidth and time and energy and focus to put into building Focus HQ. So that's typically my 0 1. That's kind of the first part of call. Figure out what's in the way at the moment. What are the mental blocks, barriers, time, energy that may get in the way when you're doing a significant heavy lift? So it really allows less guilt, less distractions, less spinning multiple plates. The second thing that you can do inside here is you can start to list out your tasks by modes, not just by now and next. That for me is really, really helpful because I'm using focus modes so long that my brain works in modes. So I'm thinking about looking at off-road. That's stuff that I don't necessarily have the answers to. I may need to explore multiple avenues. I need to gain new knowledge is what off-road mode is. So that's why I have tasks in here like what's the problem worth solving? What are the existing systems and use cases out there? What's the science of focus versus the productivity systems that are already in place? I know some of them, but I don't know all of them. I'm going to go out and explore and figure out pieces. Likewise, gaps in the market. I don't really know exactly where the gaps in the market are until I start looking down different avenues. And then in sports mode, which is all about using existing knowledge, getting stuff done, high impact work, deep work to move the needle forward. Well, when I've figured out the gaps in the market, when I've figured out what the science is, what the problem's worth solving, well, then I can start doing all of these tasks. I can figure out how to design the system, designing a new sales page. I'm a professional web designer, 16 years, so I know how to do that stuff. But also adding tasks, adding the product into Lemon Squeezy. I mean, it's a task that has to be done, but it's a low level task. Click a few buttons, copy and paste a bit of content, and I'm done with that. But it allows me to think about the mental bandwidth and how I'm going to execute for this specific project. And what's really, really beneficial of not just categorizing your tasks in a traditional linear fashion like this, but by actually categorizing them by focus modes, is this review section. This review section shows you what's planned, but it shows you what's planned based on the focus modes that you've planned. And you might think creating a Notion template and system is relatively straightforward and simple, but just all the tasks that I've listed out on this page already, well, they already account to, over 9 hours of work. There's more stuff to be done besides that, but it gives me a good idea of how much time and effort I need for this. When I look at sports mode alone, that's 4 hours of sports mode within that. That's 4 hours of deep focus, no interruptions, really nailing it at my best from a mental ability point of view. I need to make sure that I actually have some of that time in my schedule. And what's nice about projects is as you start to complete some of these tasks, then you have the spent area and this data will start populating. So by the end of the project, you may have random stuff that came in. You may have stuff that took twice as long or three times as long as you planned. You can actually see an accurate representation of how much time you spent in each specific focus mode related to the project you worked on. That's invaluable for the next project of a similar type that you type to work on, whether that be an internal project, a client project. You can actually see how much of you needs to show up. If it's a light project, if it was mostly eco mode stuff, well, then you know it's kind of rinse and repeat. You could potentially automate some of that. You could potentially outsource the bulk of that type of project. But if it was a lot of learning in off-road mode and then a lot of sports mode, well, maybe you need to charge more, or maybe you need to have a longer timeline in the plan for that sort of project as well. Really, really simple. Let's say I've planned the next month of content instead of now and next. I just mark that as done, and you can see straight away the chart updates at the top. That's 45 minutes spent in off-road mode for that project. So as I start to mark off all of these tasks, I'll get a clear indication of what's left, what have I still got on my plate, and by the end of the project, I'll have an idea of what I've spent. But I can review that any time throughout the project. I can see what have I already spent. Am I over committing to this project? Is it taking longer? Is it using more of my mental bandwidth and focus than I'd planned for? Should I continue with the project? Should I call it a day with the project? Should I figure out a different approach and simplify stuff? Really, really helpful. For me, I'm typically looking for 50 to 60% of my time to be inside sports mode so that I know I'm actually taking action. But if a new project has you primarily spent inside off-road mode, that would probably lead me to believe that I don't know enough about the subject. This was something new to me, and there's a huge learning cost to something like that. Hope this video is helpful. Feel free, leave some comments, ask some questions. Love to hear your feedback on the upcoming Focus HQ.